Yo, still Mills, what's the deal, man? Yo, peep game, man. We gotta talk about David Benevidez' fight this past weekend, man. Shout out to him, man. I think maybe it's just me, but I tend to think a little highly of Kyron Davis. He displayed a warrior mentality on Saturday, man. That a lot of cats kind of fold under those. They kind of fold under the pressure. And he just proved to be a little, a really tough outing as far as just his his fortitude, man. He didn't lay down. He was like, I'm gonna talk my shit. A lot of times niggas get beat up, they get crashed. You saw what was happening with Caleb Plant and Canelo. Caleb Plant wanted approval from Canelo. He wanted approval. Kyron Davis was talking, he was talking nice to David Benevidez in the midst of a beating. So I'm pretty high up on him, man. I see the skill set there, man. He kind of had him flustered early on. He did a real good job moving laterally, man, pot shotting. He did a real good job. It's just the minute David Benavidez found his range and started connecting. It takes a lot for somebody after they get hit with a flush shot when your head is snapping back to keep your bearings and get back on your bicycle, man. Like, nah, some cats they get stagnant when they get hit with a good shot. It takes a elite level of discipline to stay focused. All right, I got hit, I'm still moving, I'm in motion. So he got hit and he started slowing down. It wasn't even the body shots early on. It was just him getting hit. It was just, taking his legs from up under him somewhat. But he would get back on his bicycle momentarily, get hit again, and place himself on the ropes. And he was willing to engage with David Benavidez. He was willing to engage, and I don't think he should have did that. I think he should have stayed on his bicycle. And if he was going to engage, stay in his body. Stay in his body. Check hook off the body and spin out. Should have been, implying tactics like that, man. But nonetheless, he was willing to engage. He was smiling. David Benavidez is kind of like a jackal in a menace, man. When he gets hit, he starts smiling at you. Kyron was smiling back. So it was real entertaining of a fight, man. He had David Benavidez like overreaching, like lunging. His chin was past his kneecap. You dig? Like an elite counter puncher could have punished something. He could have punished that, man. It's like in his lateral movement was a lot of, was the reason for that. Him moving side to side was the reason for that. David Benavidez was doing a lot of lunging early on, man. So, and he doesn't have the fastest feet, but he's so big he'll eventually start to, they'll start to close in on you. Just he can cover more distance with those long legs. And he can hit you from longer distance with those long arms, man. So eventually he started finding his spots, and Kyron was willing to go to the rope. And I think that ended up being his downfall, because it wasn't like he was getting wore down because of the body shots. But once he placed his back on the ropes, that's when David started landing the body shots. And that's what really, led to his downfall. So he couldn't find him for a minute, man. And just like I said, him just willing to engage and him laying on the rope and trying to counter punch off the rope, like, nah, bro, you need to be at the middle of the ring. He did a good job spinning him early on, man, but then when David started finding his rhythm and started finding his range, he would willingly put himself on the rope. He would willingly put himself on the rope, like, no, bro, why are you doing that? And with him smiling, like him playing that game with David was that much more eager to get in there and knock him out. But in the process of that, Benavidez started to, he started to gas himself. He was breathing through his mouth. And, it was one of them situations where it worked out in the end, in the long run, because as he was starting to gas out, the punishment was starting to become too overbearing for Kyron Davis. So it's kind of one of them situations where it's like, all right, it's all, he got me. I think if he would have stayed in the middle of the ring and held his energy preserves and got a little bit more comfortable in the pocket with counterpunching the body shots at mid-ring, or counterpunching the hooks and everything, he could have said, you know, he would have had enough energy to at least make it a 12-round bout. But he, you know, he didn't. But yeah, as you know, as he started to really put on the combinations on Chiron, and the punishment started to, you know, it was just an accumulation of punishment. David Benevidez's energy was being sapped in the same breath. So as his energy is depleting, Chiron is taking, you know, his punch resistance for that fight is depleting. You know, it's taking a toll on him. So it all worked out in the end. It all worked out in the end, man. Benevidez he has fast ripping combinations, hard hands. That power jab was, as much as it was being telegraphed, I seen the snap on it, man. That's definitely not something you was trying to get hit with. Like I said, that was the shot that was connecting with him throughout that fight that eventually halted Chiron's lateral movement. When he started snapping that power jab, you started seeing that man's head snap back and his legs got a little weebly wobbly. Not to the point where he was buzzed or nothing like that and off his rocker and on spaghetti legs, but it was enough for you to, I got to get my bearings back just for that split second. And in that split second, somebody can close distance on you. So that's what ended up leading to his downfall, man. But that was very much so noticeable by David Benevidez. He was gassed. He was most definitely gassed after all of that. He was gassed. And he got him out of there, man. So salute to David Benevidez, man, on that win. But after this fight, I am a little bit more on I'm that much more firm and stern on my stance that he wouldn't be able to deal with a Canelo Alvarez, man. The thing is, even though I think David Benevidez is a little bit more equipped to deal with Canelo because of the caliber of competition he's been fighting, I don't think, like, it's real weird because I think he'd have a little bit more success with Canelo than Caleb Plant did, because they're gonna meet up in the middle. Caleb Plant, he had to go find Caleb. He had to go find him. David is gonna meet him in the middle, and it'll be easier for him to operate. So everybody saw, man, his defense ain't really that good. He got exposed and yada yada yada. I mean, man, when you're not blessed with the footwork of somebody else, you're gonna take a little bit. You're gonna take a little bit of punishment. I went back and rewatched that fight with Caleb Plant and Canelo before the Benevidez fight, and I'm really just baffled as to how y'all could get it out. It was even a close match with y'all. Caleb only won no more than 3 rounds, and that's being generous. I'm leaning more towards 2. He got his ass beat, but I do think Benevidez will have a little bit more success with him. Benevidez may have him a little bit more, looking just a tad bit more vulnerable, just because, you know, the fast combinations, and he's heavy-handed, and he has the natural advantages of height and length. So in the pocket, that could, you know, I think he'd have success with that. He'd have success with that. Minor success, but success nonetheless, as opposed to him looking, you know, as opposed to Caleb Plant, you know, setting traps somewhat to a really lesser degree. Yeah, he was setting traps. He set traps. He set traps. But Caleb Plant, if Caleb Plant was the fighter David Benevidez and a Durrell, and just, you know, just step up his caliber of competition, he would have did a lot better with, you know, with Canelo Alvarez, because it was moments where he, oh shit, he's countering effectively. He would have found that, you know, he'd have been a little bit more sharper with his punches, you know, the punch placement, the kill shots, because, you know, power, I don't have the power to slow this dude down, so I can be a little bit more precise on, you know, where I place the punches at. That's what fighting caliber, you know, quality opposition does for you. It enhances your skill set. So when you look at a cat like David Benevidez, even though he's in the middle, you know, they'll both meet in the middle. I gotta figure out how I want to even word it, man. He'd have a little bit more success with Caleb Plant, even if he was able to get David Benevidez out there a little bit faster than he got Caleb Plant out of there. Because he meeting them, then, styles do make fights, and Benevidez's style is somewhat tailor-made for Canelo Alvarez because he doesn't have to go find him. He does not have to go find him. And, from what I saw, just is hella holes in the defense, man. You're not going to be able to just walk through. Like, he's not going to sit there and just eat shots, eat combinations from Canelo Alvarez. He's not going to do it. He's not going to be able to eat combinations from Canelo Alvarez the way that he was doing with Kyron Davis. Even, the shots, that he catches with the glove, he's going to feel those shots. Canelo was proven to be a legitimate, a fierce puncher in the division at 168 pounds. He's proven that. Breaking motherfuckers' eye sockets, breaking people's bicep. You dig? Stopping dudes who have never even been stopped and dropped before. That's a big deal. That's a real big deal, man. So I don't think I'm that much more confident that he wouldn't beat Canelo Alvarez. I just am. What I do think, though, is I think Jamal he called Jamal out, and I think that's dope. I love David Benevidez's mentality, man. Let me work for it. I have no problem with earning my shot at Canelo. And honestly, at the moment, he's the only fighter that's deserving of that fight. Everybody else is just sitting around waiting for, waiting on the Canelo sweepstakes, waiting on the, for them to win the lottery. A lot of these cats are doing that. The majority of these cats are doing that. And David is, he's like, I'm willing to work for it. I don't have no problem working for that, man. So I salute and respect that. I salute and respect the fuck out of it, man. Jamal is looking like Jamal is the next one in line. It's looking like he's the next one up. So can't be mad at that. I do think he does need to holler at David Benevidez, though. I'm not even gonna front. He called that dude pussy in front of everybody. And given what you did just 2 weeks ago, that was some sucker shit. That was some sucker shit. Slap a fan, but don't slap the man that slapped your brother. And now you got David Benevidez calling you pussy. You're not gonna respond to that? You're gonna have to move up anyway to fight Canelo. May as well just stay there and get that work up there with him. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But nonetheless, shout out to David Benevidez. Good win. Good win. There's still shit that needs to be worked on with him, but that's what happened. He's 24. He's not even in his prime. He's still got a few more years before he gets to his prime years. And look what he's doing at 24, man. The dude is, he's clearly gonna be a problem. He's clearly a problem. He's clearly a problem. He's definitely not no pushover. Even now, Canelo will have to work for that win, but I do think he will no doubt win that fight. It's just too much. It's too much. It's too much skill, a gap in skill. Too big of a gap in skill. So skills pay the bills, man. And that's how I'm feeling about it. So I'll be back later on to do a video about Rosado and Jaime. So yeah, man. I'm out of here. Peace.